the approval of our minutes. Would someone like to make that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I've read the minutes and make a motion to approve as submitted.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gurley. Have a second. Second, Commissioner Sereno. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They are approved. Moving first, subject, probation report.
Hello. Ms. Phillips is out of town this week, so I'm going to go over our report for last month. During the month of June, we terminated a total of 156 cases from probation, which equaled 139 people. During the month, we supervised a total of 1,159 active cases on probation. We had a total of 64 applicants in our class programs for the month. During the month, 26 of those were discharged successfully and 7 were discharged unsuccessfully. With our Olive Branch outreach program, we were able to help 8 people for the month. A couple of those were people that had not received items from us before, so we know that we were able to help some new ones. We are trying to plan a food drive for the month of August to restock our pantry for some items. As far as our financials, our total revenue for June was $19,845.95. Our expenditures were $155,244.26 for a difference of $135,398.31. During the month of June, we sent $10,342 to the clerks to be included in payment plans, bringing the fiscal year total for that amount or that category to $96,065.70. In addition, we sent $10,226.95 to the clerks for cases that do not currently have a payment agreement, bringing that fiscal year total to $57,767.40. And during the month of June, we provided services or supervised a total of 15 clients who had been deemed indigent. And that's all I have for our report.
Any questions on the report?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Gurley. To have a second.
Second.
Have a second, Commissioner P. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Your report is approved. Thank you. Correctional Work Center report. I believe you've got 2 amendments, is that right?
I have 1 amendment.
1 amendment? Okay.
Yes, sir. Included in your packet, you'll see our report there, our July board meeting. Our work release program statistics, not a whole lot of change in that. Our yearly activity report, no significant changes there. June, a total of trash collected on county, state, and interstates are as followed. County roads, county trash collected 11,920 pounds of garbage. And then state routes included interstates, 1,161 bags collected, and large bulk items were collected on 24 and 840. And then you'll also find our monthly worker report with a total combined savings of $82,992 using inmate labor. And that is our report.
Questions on the report?
So move to approve.
Have
And second.
approval of the report. Motion made by Commissioner Sereno. To have a second. Second, Commissioner P. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Report has been approved. Now, if you want to do your budget
Yes, sir.
amendment.
We have a budget amendment to move $8,000 from 410, which is cleaning supplies, over to other equipment, and that's 790, and that's under the advisement of finance because we need a new dryer. One of our dryers went down.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve, Commissioner P.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Gurley. Call the roll.
Commissioner Phillips, Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Virgil Gammon, Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes,
Motion passes.
Thank you all.
approved. Thank you, sir. Juvenile Detention Report.
Good evening. Before you have our report for the month of June, which will be wrapping up our yearly activity report. On the first page, I can update you that Cannon County we've received the check from Cannon County. We have also received, the check from Montgomery County. We have been in contact with Marion County. They say that the check is in the mail. We've talked to the county executive from that county, so I'm hoping that they're being honest about that. And we don't expect any issues with the other two counties. And that brings our year-to-date billed to $292,600. Excuse me. The rest of the report is pretty standard. We didn't have any positives, STDs for this month, and so our yearly positive percentage wrapped up around 11%. And beyond that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Gentlemen, any questions on the report?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made to approve, Commissioner
Second.
Ratner. Second, Commissioner Gurley. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Report is approved.
Thank you.
Public Safety Director report.
Mayor, committee. For the month from June 14th to July 17th, we have provided a report from Emergency Management. A couple of things that I'd like to point out. I'd spoken to you about having a mass casualty exercise that was conducted on June the 9th, and we were very successful, had a lot of partners involved in this, and it was a huge success. And it brought some things that we need to tweak and work on, and it was mainly for the interns for St. Thomas Ascension interns. Also, we have worked with several of the training officers across the county, fire and law enforcement, to hopefully guide us and direct us at emergency management to provide a training calendar that everybody can see through their training officers, instead of just popping off an IS 400, or have some type of rhythm to this that we know that, and they have buy-in, so that we're just not popping at the hip to provide this training and hopefully help them with their overtime expenditures or staffing during those times. We did conduct an IS 400 class there at Emergency Management. Went very well, and looking through the crowd, it was law enforcement, EMS, throughout the county. And a lot of those guys that attended had been in service or has provided a service to our county for many years. And so it was good to see all the people that were in there. Skipping to the radios, Mr. Rowland couldn't be here tonight, so hopefully I can skim through that. But one of our big accomplishments is we've got solid waste 100% on our radio system now. All those radios have been installed and working properly. We've had a big CAD update that hosted by the Sheriff's Department, and we have brought through all the responders, vehicles, consoles, all that had received a big, huge CAD update, and we're grateful for that. There was many hours that was spent trying to get that organized and get everybody through. Also, I'd like to reach out and say that a happy retirement to our ECD 911 director. He recently retired and provided such a service to our county, and he's been in this business for a long time. Once was a EMA director seat, and we hope him a happy retirement. And then last but not least, our communication center service 3,130 calls of service for fire and EMS this month, and they were broke down for you. We've hired a full-time dispatcher since your budget that you have approved. We've already got that person hired, and they're in that onboarding process at this time. We're faced with a little bit of COVID in our communication center, so we're adjusting our staffing accordingly and working through those difficulties, which that's not a new thing. That's just something that we've learned how to do. And that's my report, and entertain any questions that you may have.
Mr. P.
Last month, when the gentleman gave the report on the radios, I asked him specifically to check with the schools and to make sure that our teachers that have the radios or administrators that have the radios inside the school system can contact outside with those radios. That's one of the big problems they had in Texas.
Correct.
Supposedly is not having being able to communicate. And I want to make sure we're spending money for these radios, that they're going to work in these schools. To me, that's the most, one of the most important.
Absolutely.
It's important for everybody to have them, from a firefighter to a policeman out on the. I especially want to know now, have y'all done any testing in the schools specifically, and do those radios that administrators and the handhelds that assistant principals or whatever they happen to be, are they getting out?
So we did talk about that today, me and Mr. Rowland. He has spoken to the fire marshal, Josh Sanders, and as they go through inspecting those buildings, that they would do radio checks to make sure each wing, as they inspect that building, they will do the radio checks as well as they go through those, preparing for the school year. Is that?
I think it'd be simple enough for y'all to try to contact them over the radio and see if they can contact you back. I don't want to wait a year to go through 50 schools. If we're going to do one a week, that'd take a year and 2 weeks, or 2 weeks, excuse me, it'd take a year.
Well, I will reassure that if we can get hold of these principals this week and do radio checks through that, and talk to Miss Patty Easer, which is over their safety program, and we'll coordinate that effort and see if we can get that done.
Well, in my book, it's not okay to wait a year to get it done.
And I don't think that it would believe that it would take a year as we go through those, but we will get on that and make sure that we contact Patty Easer and her safety crews and get that radios checks done throughout each wing and then all over the school grounds. I haven't heard of any issues, radio problems that have occurred since we've put the new system in. And that system we've been talking on for about a year and a half now. I do know that Ms. Easer was evaluating that radio system as she came into office, and we work with her very closely.
We'll see what you've got to say next month.
Yes, sir.
I would just like to say something along that line. I mean, you've got 50 schools. Most of them haven't had the principals and so on there at the schools. You can't just walk into the school. So you're going to have to, as I see it, you're pretty much going to have to wait till the schools start getting open in order to do that. And then if you look at a school like Stewart's Creek High School or Rockville High School, you can't do that survey of that school properly in less than a couple of hours, probably. The proper way to do that is to look at whether to go at a lot of different locations, because you either have it or you don't have it. It's going to take some time. If you want to do it sooner, I think you're going to have to hire a consultant or somebody with a staff or something and pay for it. I don't think any of us want to do that. But until you get principals there, because right now you don't have principals there. You don't have schools manned right now, except haphazardly by people who are not in the position, maybe a teacher working on their room or whatever, and not someone who is in a position to do it. I don't have any doubt that when it comes to the schools, I said this back several years ago when we were talking about the system, in some schools you're going to have this system within the county portion was not engineered to penetrate every school in Rutherford County, and I don't think it will. It'll do a majority of them, but we're going to have to identify those deficits and then work to solve those deficits, and that's probably going to take an in-building system or something in certain ones of those schools.
One of the points that, if we received what we call it bonks at you. So if a portable radio that the principal would have on them goes to an area that it is not covered, it bonks at you. It gives you a noise saying that you cannot communicate. You don't even have to key the mic. It will say out of range. We haven't had that report from any principal. They have a portable and a mobile device or a stationary device within the office. Those portables, if you walk into an area that's not serviceable, it will bonk at you. We have not had those reports. However, Commissioner, we will make sure. I will put it as a priority list that we go to those schools, Brian himself, and test those areas and make sure that happens.
Well, to me, one of our highest priorities are these schools and that they communicate. And I assume when they can push that key, there may be dead places in the school, and yes, that would take time. But as a rule, you should be able to quickly key up and see if you can contact the sheriff's dispatch.
Correct.
And I assume that's what the intention is, to go to dispatch.
Right.
I'd like to have a motion to suspend the rules to allow Chief Farley to speak.
In 2018 fire code, it states in 2018 fire code that all schools have to have a repeater in them. I know Rockville has one put in it because we've tested it. I feel very confident some of these schools we're going to have trouble talking in because we've got a new system, and the school system, unless they went back and bought repeaters and put in these buildings, they're not going to be able to talk. So I think that we're going to have an issue with that. These repeaters aren't, as you all know, are very expensive. We did test Rockville. We can communicate in there, but as far as other schools, as we build schools and we add on to schools, we add that repeater, we'll be able to communicate. But I suspect there's going to be schools we cannot communicate in.
And also Plainview has one of those in there too.
Because it's a new school. Anything built from Rockville on will have a repeater in it.
Other questions? Okay, other questions for the director on his report? I have a motion to approve the report.
Move to approve.
Motion approved. Commissioner
Second.
Gurley. Second, Commissioner Rather. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Sure, I believe you have some other reports for us.
Yes, sir. We have a grant opportunity. It's called an EMPG ARPA award application. We would requesting to apply for on this grant a fence that would be located in front of our emergency operations center. Currently, we have no protection in the front of our building. This fence would extend halfway down the front of on each side. It's not the whole property. It's just toward the front, which we have chain link that runs the sides and the back of the building. It's an older chain link. However, we have no protection at the front. With this fence would come an electronic gate where we have our new swipe cards where they can get in if they have that privilege. It would also be open from 8 to 5 during business hours so people could get in, but they would close after hours, and then you would need a card swipe to access our office. This is our emergency operations center. Security is one of those things that I feel that is important. Just the other day, I was fixing to pull in, and I noticed a lady that came out, and she was homeless and stepped out there in front of the woods to kind of stretch from sleeping. We're getting several homeless in that area, and also you can approach our building pretty easily. So it's a 50-50 grant. We're requesting $44,000 on this grant. It would be a $22,000 50-50 match.
Questions?
I move to approve.
Mr. Gurley moves to approve. Have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Sereno, call the roll.
I've got a question or two. Do you have any money in your budget to fill that match?
No, sir, we did not put that in this year's budget, this
You
application.
hadn't looked at it to see if you've got anywhere you could put in there?
No, sir, I have not.
I'll go ahead and vote for this when it comes to budget. Look, see what you got.
Okay.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
State Farm Building?
Yes, sir. So a couple years ago, the Sheriff's Department staff, along with several other agencies, had developed a active threat course for all of our first responders within the county. All of the responders participated in, a lot of the responders participated in this class. Due to new employees, some of the individuals that was not able to attend this course, we would like to start this active course again. We're requesting to utilize the State Farm Building for this active shooter or active threat course, and we're requesting your permission for the mayor to execute this agreement with State Farm so that we could utilize their facility.
Will we be paying for this, or are they allowing us to use it? Free?
Yes, sir.
Pretty good deal then.
And they've been great partners through COVID and these requests. They've been excellent.
The contract is on your SharePoint. Do you have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve. I think it's a great thing. Went through some of this back several years ago, and if you don't keep training and you don't keep the new people trained, then all it takes is one weak link in the chain, and we've got a problem. So the more people we can get trained in this area, the better off we are.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Mr. Sereno, call the roll.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I have one more item, if it's okay with you guys. We have had spoken to Box 100, which they are a rehab unit that is, I guess, kind of born in Laverne. After speaking with those people, Sheriff's Department, Fire Department, EMS, and myself, we're requesting and having your blessings for them to participate in the county unincorporated areas for our firefighters, paramedics, and law enforcement on extended scenes where they would bring in water, refreshments, even supper. We've utilized these guys for every now and then out of Laverne requesting mutual aid. We would like for them to be here for us as well and expand their membership. And they are a 501(c)(3). They have their own insurance, and we would like to set up an agreement as we would with the fire departments to bring them into and provide volunteer response to these long-term events to help us rehab. There were several events that they've already been with us. One was the plane crash that occurred on Percy Priest Lake. And then there was a couple of other events where they've came in and to assist us already. We'd kind of like to make this a permanent fixture in our incorporated areas and hopefully gain more volunteers to help them supplement and provide these necessities to our personnel while on the scene. I don't know if that would be a vote. I'm not sure. But I wanted to introduce those guys and what they would do for us.
I won't be here probably when you bring all this back unless you get it done quickly. But, you know, I started out with this county back in the 70s as a volunteer, and there are a lot of volunteer firefighters. There's been a lot of volunteer people volunteering with the Sheriff's Department in years gone by in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on. You know, it gets to be an area where you either take full-time people who should be fighting a fire out to rehab your firefighters, or you allow people who are willing and have the necessary training and equipment to volunteer to rehab your firefighters or rehab your law enforcement officers if you're out on certain things that, especially in the heat or the cold, that where you need some extra cooling or heating. These are things that where we can utilize volunteers and keep the people who are more highly trained doing their job of putting out a fire or tracking down the bad guy or whatever. So I think it's a good thing. It seems to me that all you need to do is bring back a memorandum of understanding to whoever's here a bit down the road and get that approved.
We're working on an agreement currently, and we'd like to bring that back to you guys whenever we get that complete.
Any other questions on this proposal? Just work with them and see what needs to be done as far as we're concerned. Just want to go that direction.
Yep. I think that's
Okay. All right, ambulance report.
Good evening. For the month of June, we made a total of 3,159 calls. Response time was 7.5. We had 62 DOAs for the month, 24 autopsies. a total of 288 autopsies for the year. We collected $1,032,822 for the month. Yearly collections was $9,933,757. The next page is a couple of classes and some community relation events. On the convalescent report, it made a total of 403 calls. We collected $96,003. Yearly collections was $1,373,243. And then next are just kind of some thank you notes and a couple of life flight calls and some outstanding cardiac calls for the month. And that's my report.
Questions on the report?
How many open positions have you got now, Brian?
Well, I think counting the 4 new that started July the 1st, I think we have an orientation class the 16th of the month, and I think after we complete that, I think it will, as we sit today, it would be 1 position. We thought we had it filled. We made an offer. That person, the place they're employed, countered them, and they ended up staying. But we are getting, over the past couple of weeks, we've interviewed probably 4 or 5 paramedics, and that is, a lot of that's to do with the schedule and the 15%.
Other questions? Have a motion to approve the report?
So moved.
Motion to approve the report, Commissioner Peete. Have a second. Second, Commissioner Rather. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? I believe you have a budget amendment.
Yeah, the budget amendment, and I hate to do this in July, but we're requesting to move $25,000 from in-fund balance into our scholarship account. We have 7 people that are wanting to go to paramedic school starting in August. And in the past, we've done scholarships ranging in, I think it was around $6,000 a person. It's about $8,500, at least $8,500 just in tuition and books to go to paramedic school now. In the past, budget-wise, we've gotten $20,000 into our budget, and then we've received donations from outside places. We haven't gotten those in the last couple of years, and we also haven't used this account much in the past couple of years. People's been going on Tennessee Promise or Tennessee Reconnect, but this year it seemed a little different. We do have a couple that are using those to go, but we have a total of 7 that are needing some assistance to go. And this account that we're moving it from, I would have asked to do it in June, but it kind of caught me off guard. But we moved almost $69,000 from last year's into in-fund from the scholarship fund.
So as I understand it right, you give the scholarship and then they commit to stay for a period of time?
3 years, yes, sir.
Heard the request.
Move to approve.
Motion approved. Have a second. Second, Commissioner Peete, call the roll.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, sir. Fire rescue.
To further answer Commissioner P's question, our fire marshal was watching from home. He said, I'm already working on the radio coverage in the schools. If they don't have a repeater in them, they will be adding them. It's required, the code requires it, is required for new buildings and existing construction too. So it's, if they don't have them, they have to add them. And I'm sure the SRO's been there every day, could probably speak if they're having any issues. But if they don't have them, they will be getting them. For the month of July, we had 293 medical calls. We had 30 MVAs with injury, 34 without injury. We had 4 extrications for a total call volume of 592 calls. Year to date, we've ran 1,860 medical calls, 162 MVAs with injuries, 193 MVAs without injuries, and 14 extrications for a total call volume of 3,544 calls. The next sheet shows the county combined, including all the runs the volunteers have made. We've had 62 structure fires, 83 brush fires, 58 illegal burns, 66 vehicle fires, 6 water rescues, and a call volume of MVAs is 659 calls and 17 extrications. For a total call volume of 4,325 calls countywide. The next sheet is a document we turn into the codes department showing them of residential homes and structures that's been damaged by fire. The next document is showing our case log of our investigations. The next sheet shows all the illegal burns calls that we've been mentioned last month. And the last sheet, I want to draw your attention to that. We have received a grant from the Tennessee Fire Chiefs Association. We had this grant back several years ago, and we documented everything and did what we were supposed to do so well that we were automatically eligible for this grant. And the good thing about this grant is it also includes all the volunteer fire departments. What we did last time, if somebody was located in that district, we sent them to that department. This year, they'll receive all these, in this picture, they'll receive all the items you see here, the banners, the signs and stuff. It's kind of, this right here kind of shows a booth that somebody has set up to recruit volunteers. We met this month with all the volunteer departments. We sat down together and created a group plan of how we're going to recruit, because we had to turn it into the grant people. Every one of these, the good thing about this year is that every one of these things you see will have an email. They can go in and register an email, and it comes to us. We told the volunteers we'd do all the documentation and paperwork, and we'd send the volunteers to them. But they're going to have pamphlets. If you see on the table, they have pamphlets to hand out. The good thing about this year, it's all going to have their logos on it. Each department will have their own logo, their own contact information. So when they go out at a ball game, whether it be a high school or middle school, and they do recruitment and they hand out these pamphlets, it will have their logo, their department logo on it, and their contact information and their address of their station. And this is a 100% free grant, and they're willing to supply as many documents as far as pamphlets, posters, and whatever they need. And from what I understand, they'll also be providing a pop-up tent for each department to be able to set up a booth at different events. So I think this is a good thing. Hopefully it will help us to build up our volunteer ranks. And that concludes my report.
Questions on the report?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve the report.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Report is approved.
Thank you.
All right. Sheriff?
Good evening. We currently have 49 positions open. 11 of them in detention are in the process of being interview process, medical, waiting them to come back to be approval for hire. And then we have 4 in dispatch that's went through interviews and in the process of being hired. 652 are incarcerated this afternoon in the jail. That's all I have to add to my report.
Okay.
I've got a question or two.
Yes, sir.
You ever talk to any of the SROs over their radios out of the schools?
Yes, so we have a few schools that's got dead spots inside the building. If you're in a certain area of the school, the radios don't get out. I don't have the number or the locations.
Well, Harley said, you know, if you don't have a repeater inside there and you're going through concrete from one end to the other.
Yes, sir.
But as far as you know, any of them could step outside and contact dispatch?
Yes, sir, they can. And we're in the process of working and looking at where the issues are also.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I have a comment. Since we're using the same system, it doesn't really matter whether it's law enforcement or fire. It would seem to me if we could compare notes, we could save a lot of time, because it sounds like the SO's already done, with SROs are in there all the time. You already got a pretty good hand on where you can talk and can't talk in certain buildings. So if we can share that, SO and fire, we could save a lot of time in assessing where we need to maybe address, because these in-building systems are not cheap. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars to put an in-building system, and yes, they're being put in and included in the new bills per fire codes, but that doesn't cover these 48 or so other schools that are already built. In many cases, a lot of them are going to have good coverage. They're close to repeater, Stewart's Creek. You can look and see the tower. As soon as you step outside the building, you're looking at it. That's not the case in all the schools. So if we could, SO and fire get together and compare notes and bring back a consensus of dead spots in school buildings.
Yes, sir.
Something I might point out, if I'm not mistaken, the school system uses a different radio than what your officers are using. Isn't that correct?
It's the same system. It's the
Same system. It's not the same radio, Joe.
I think the educators have a different channel because they don't want to tie up the law enforcement channel, but they do have radio communication. They can talk to our SROs if they need to.
That has nothing to do with it. I don't want to get into a technical argument, but the model number, I mean, tog group is a tog group. It doesn't matter. It's going over the same doggone equipment through the same switching stuff. I don't know what the information is, but there shouldn't be any difference in what an SRO can talk to and what a school person can talk to.
I see exactly what Commissioner P is talking about. The main thing he's looking at is we want communications within our schools. And I think that's where we're talking there. And I think the Sheriff's Department is trying to accomplish that too with what they're doing. I think the fire is trying to accomplish what we're doing. I think what we're going to end up having to do right here is to find out who's talking to who and where we're talking with and how. I know when they were building the new school at Rockville, that was a requirement for that school going through. So the new schools are already doing these things. It's these schools that have been there for a few years and where we're going to have our problems and what we've got to deal. So we'll have to be looking at those. I think this is a great opportunity that we also work with our new superintendent who's there now and make sure that we get all of this straightened out and where we need to go and how we do this. And the sooner the better. And I think that's what we can be working for that direction. Okay, where were we with you?
I was finished my report.
Just on your report?
Yeah, that was
okay. All right, have a motion to approve the report. Motion to approve. Have a second. All those in favor say aye. All right, sir, I believe you have a couple amendments and a grant, or?
Yes, sir, I do. I want to recognize the revenue and expenditures for the financial year of 2020 Bureau of Justice Assistance, the State Criminal Aliens Assistant Grant Award for construction and building improvements in the Adult Detention Center. We received $44,846. We would like to place that in our 707 line item. Also, the application fee from the Justice Bureau Incorporated is $7,150. It's 17% of the overall money we received. And I'd like to take that from our unassigned fund balance and place it in our $399 if we can pay that fee, please.
Further request on this grant amendment? Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a
Second.
motion to approve, Commissioner Rather. Second?
Have y'all looked into your budget to see if you've got money that you could match there?
Yes, sir. I talked to Ms. Nolan today, and that's why we have to do the unassigned fund balance.
Do I have the second?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno, call the roll.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner P, Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, Chief.
The next amendment, we received a donation of $1,001. We would like to place that in our repair, maintenance, and building in 335.
You've heard the request.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made, Commissioner Rather. Have a second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Sereno, call the roll.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes,
Motion.
it passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. PAWS Report.
Good evening. For the month of June, we had 498 animals come into the shelter. We had a live release rate for our dogs of 90.6%, cats were 91.2%, and overall a 90.9%. The surgery programs were very busy. We had 252 animals that were reclaimed by their original owners through the free spay and neuter program, and 32 cats released through our TNR program. Officers completed out 1,460 calls for the month, and they traveled 10,120 miles. Closing out the fiscal year, we had 5,407 animals come into the shelter. Our live release rate was 92.7%. Officers completed almost 18,000 calls, traveling 123,541 miles. For our rabies exposure and bite report, we had 33 bites reported for the month. 5 of those were sent for testing. None came back positive. We had 4 other exposures. None of those were sent for testing. The other part of your report is the graph that I give you all monthly so you can see visually our live release versus our euthanasia rate. And that is all the report, sir.
Further report. Questions?
Motion to approve the report.
Motion to approve, Commissioner P.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Gurley. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Report is approved. I believe you've got a budget amendment.
Yes, sir, and I have a grant as well. The budget amendment recognizes revenue from 2 grants. The first is $1,500 from the state of Tennessee for the animal-friendly grant and moving that money into drugs and medical supplies. The next grant is $30,000 that was received from the Petco Love Foundation and putting those in the appropriate line items as well. This does not involve any county money.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve. Commissioner Gurley, have a second. Second, Commissioner Rather, call the roll.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Chairman Reed?
Yes.
Motion passed.
The last item that I have, the money that you just approved, that was the $30,000, that was from the Petco Love Foundation for the grant that we applied for in 2021. It's now time to apply for the 2022 grant, and I'd like your permission to apply for that. There is no county match. I have not been able to sit down and figure out a complete budget for that yet. The maximum that you can apply for is $100,000, and just asking for permission to apply for that and accept if approved.
Motion to approve to let him apply for the grant.
Okay, motion moved to approve to apply for the grant.
I'll second that.
And second, Commissioner Gurley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, sir. OSHA. Evening, sir. Thank you.
So for the month of June, you'll see there was a total of 10 incidences. The accident frequency calendar year to date is 85. The OSHA log summary, total recordables 64, restricted day claims 33, lost day claims 9, and other recordables was 22. On the job injuries, year to date, 85 for 2022, 89 for 2021, and 74 for 2020. On the job injuries incurred, year to date, 308,000, 2022, 366,000, 2021, and year to date for 2020 is 282,000. And then on the last page, you'll see where there was a total of 7 with the Board of Education, 3 with the County General. In the County General, you had 1 with PAWS, 2 with solid waste. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Questions on the report?
Motion to approve his report.
Have a motion to approve. Commissioner P, have a second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Sereno. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Report is approved.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Recovery Court. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, I'd like to introduce our new director as she's coming forward. This is Lachelle Ricks. Lachelle went through the interview process. Matter of fact, Ms. Ricks worked for us in our recovery court system and then left, was lured by Williamson County, and worked in Williamson County for about 8 months, even though she does reside here. And so when we had the departure of our last director, she submitted her name and went through the interview process and was selected. We had all the judges to sit in and offer their opinion as well. And before I made the selection, and Ms. Ricks came out on top. So Ms. Ricks, I don't think that the chairman will always have you last, since you do have a family, but it just worked out that way, being the last one tonight on the lengthy agenda. But we welcome you. Recovery courts are very, very important to this county. As you know, we were one of the first in the state under Don Ash's judgeship to start our drug court, and it's continued to grow. And so now we have our vets court, we have our DUI court, we have veterans court, and so on. So we're glad to have you in charge and working with them, and we welcome you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, you may be last this month. Next month, you'll be first. So you'll move right to the top. So go ahead with your report. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor. The report for June, we had 139 current participants. 6 new participants started in June. 1 graduated successfully, and 5 unsuccessful terminations. They were either terminated or voluntarily withdrew from the program. And that concludes my report. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Questions on the report?
Motion to approve the report.
Motion to approve the report, Commissioner P. To have a second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Rather. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Report is approved. Thank you and welcome. All right, other business. I have one here. I think you have copies of it, an agreement, amendment dealing with Solutions Education Center. And this is something that we approve every year. Lisa, would you like to come and explain this?
On the second couple pages in that document that you've got is the grant amendment between Rutherford County and the state. And you can see with this, next year is our 5th year of this program. And we are asking for permission to approve amendment number 3 between Rutherford County and Solutions Education Center, Inc. And this entity provides custody and prevention intervention services to identify potential issues and to provide counseling services for children of the Rutherford County Juvenile Court. So we have had this again for the 5th year, and so this is the next year's contract for this organization.
Questions? Have a motion to approve it.
Move to approve this amendment.
Mr. Gurley moves to approve. Second, Commissioner Sereno. Thank you, Lisa.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Chairman Reed?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Other business? Mr. Gurley.
Yes. I sent out to all public safety members something that was presented to me a few months back. It has to do with the way our firefighters are paid when they take a day off and then wind up working more than what they would normally work, as if they took one vacation day and work 4 days, or whatever the case might be. For fire department's a bit different, as is EMS, and the way they're paid, and the way the shift is scheduled. I hope you've read this. It's made a lot of sense to me. Unless you've been there and done that, I don't know that you can really fully comprehend the stress and so on that is on our first responders. I was there for Waverly. It was get back to work. That Sunday, I was over in Gibson County after Waverly had halfway got wiped out, working another scene. No debriefing, no time off. Oh yes, we did stop by momentarily to pay our condolences to our fellow worker who had passed on as a result of that. But that was momentary because we got called away from that. And we didn't even have time to grieve. But I don't know exactly what the answer is. Since I got here, I received an email from Director Stevenson. I've not had time to digest all of that. But this is something that we need to seriously, if we don't resolve this tonight, we need to seriously think about it, how we are going to resolve it. I saw one firefighter paramedic was leaving the county. I saw on Facebook either today or yesterday, going somewhere else. So I guess maybe I'm looking for a little input from maybe the chief and so on as to how bad this is affecting our firefighters and so on. Like I said, it's something that it makes sense to me, but I'm not sure it will make sense to everyone because it's something you have to almost have had the situation to fully understand. But I encourage you to read it, and I apologize on sending you 6 pages. I had a little lightning incident at my house here a few weeks back, and normally I just put a document in, scan it, comes out one PDF, and that's it. But I had to redo my computer, and I found out later on I needed to reload the HP software in order to get everything back working again, which I've since done. It all works out, but as it was, I had to wind up doing it the way I did it. But like I said, I just wanted to open it up. If you've not read this, I encourage you to read it. And I would like to suspend the rules and allow Chief Farley to speak if he has any comments on this, or Director Clark, either one. They want to make a comment on this.
Chief Farley, being requested by Commissioner Gurley to come forward.
Basically, the best way I can explain it is that we work 9 shifts a month. We work 216 hours. Anything over, it's a 28-day tour. So anything within that 28 days that goes over 216 hours is considered overtime. What he's requesting is if they take a vacation day, and that's 24 hours. If they take a vacation day and then we call out, somebody for some reason, somebody's sick or whatever can't come in, we may send out a overtime offer, and if they come in and work, then the county policy reads is that they keep their vacation day and they work that 9th shift, and they get their regular pay. Some departments, Murfreesboro, Laverne, for instance, if you work that 8 days, you take a vacation day, and then you come in and work that 9th day, you keep your vacation day, but then you just receive straight time. But it's still more money on their check. What they're requesting is that we would follow the policy of some of the other departments, that if they take a vacation day, they get charged that vacation day, but then that 9th day they worked, they still have 216 hours with that vacation day. But if they come in and work that 10th shift, then they would get straight time. Of course, if they work 9 shifts and work 10, that 10th shift would be overtime. But that's all they're requesting. And because we had a guy that his wife got sick and had to have emergency surgery, he took 2 vacation days, and then when the fires up in Gatlinburg happened, up in Pigeon Forge, we sent a crew up there to assist them. So while he was up there, he was gone 3 days. But when he come back, he had spent that time. He went because he thought he'd get overtime. Well, when we come back, he realized he'd taken those 2 vacation days. So he basically went up there and didn't get any overtime. And I think what they want to do is if they work that shift, they would get straight time instead of overtime, and they're just wanting, because a lot of guys, I guess the argument is a lot of guys are if they know there's a possibility to work overtime, they won't take their vacation.
I have personally talked to someone with some other departments, and you're correct, that's the way they do it. And you know, sometimes it gets around to choosing between what may be technically legal that you can get away with and doing what's right for people. And I kind of see that as that. Maybe we can get away if you're looking to maximize the amount of money expended, but is that always the best thing? Is it the best thing for the citizens out there who say, yeah, I don't want to spend any more money, but do you want to have someone who's not stressed and someone coming to your aid, or you want someone who is stressed? And so that's kind of the way I see it. I'm not sure we'll get a resolution to this tonight, but I do want to go back and read this other, but it is something that we need to resolve, and we need to resolve this pretty soon one way or another. And so if you haven't read the 6 pages, I will rescan it now that I have my scanner back working and send it out to every commissioner as one PDF document that you don't have to piece pages together. Again, I apologize for that. But I may bring this back up if we don't do anything with this tonight at our next full commission meeting, because that'll probably be my last time to bring it up. I won't be here for the next one. So I'm not sure exactly where we need to go with this, but the policy to me needs to change, and it needs to change soon.
Well, regardless of the policy, if it's county policy, I have to enforce it, but I think they were just, in a respectful way, were asking to, if they could seek to get that changed. And I told him, I said, I'm fine with it. If he said, I want to contact my county commissioner, I said, I'm fine with it as long as you're respectful and you go about it the right way. And I feel like, I've read the document, I feel like he was.
Yeah, this is, there's been no threats made. This is bringing a problem to our attention, and I think it's something that, like I said, I will rescan this, get it out to all 21 commissioners, and ask them to read this, and then be prepared to talk about this maybe our next full commission meeting, because that's where we can resolve it. We've got to get 11 out of 21 votes to change this policy.
Anybody have any questions for me?
Do you, either one of you have any idea what that would cost us, since we've already set our budget for the year?
Well, basically, if we do it the way they're asking to do it, it would be straight time. It wouldn't be overtime. They would basically, they get paid for their vacation day, but they'd also get paid for 24 hours straight time that they would work, but it wouldn't be overtime. So that'd be something for Lisa or Sonia to answer.
There's also been an email that come out this afternoon from HR explaining also, have y'all had opportunity to see that one too? And it's in here too. Suggestions or where we want to go with this?
It appears to me, if it's going to get brought up in the commission meeting, that between now and August 11th, I think that's the next meeting, maybe the chief or somebody from the fire department, Sonia. I mean, if we're going to change the policy, what are we changing it to? And 21 people in the commission meeting that'll go on all night long because 21 different ideas what the policy is going to be. You know, get a general consensus. If Sonia says this is the way we can do it, and guys from fire are okay with that and have some input, you know, put something in front that we say, yeah, this is okay if everybody else is okay, and you know, it appears or sounds like from Chief Farley that there may not be a money issue, but that definitely isn't, that's a factor, especially in July. So I just think, you know, if we knew what the policy, what someone wanted the policy to look like, that would be a lot quicker.
I think between now and the next commission meeting gives us a little bit of time to work on that. And, you know, we're the ones that set the policy. And so we get information from both our HR director and our department heads and so on. And we're the ones that set the policy. And what I'm saying is, read this. I will send out tomorrow a better copy of this, and read it, see how it makes sense. Also print out and read what HR says, Sonia says in her email. But like I said, there gets to be a point in doing what's right versus what's maybe technically legal that you can get away with. We could probably get away with a lot of things. We could get away with not funding our education system to the point we fund it right now in this county. But is that what we want to do? Do we want to be down somewhere on the totem pole? It's the same way with anything that we do. We need to strive to do it the best way for the citizens and the best way for the employees, because they are our greatest resource. I'll work on it. I'll get as much information as I can to each one of the 21 fellow commissioners, and we'll bring it back up on at our August meeting.
Commissioner P., is this something that budget would want to see also?
I mean, I'd like to see some estimates on what it would cost, and then too, from HR, whether this would be something that we'd have to look at across the board for all our employees through the general. You know, it wouldn't be the school at their own, but you know, change of policy for one group. You know, there's another group going to be standing there saying, "Well, why didn't you change that for me?" And I'd like to know how that's going to affect all of us. And I'm sympathetic. I mean, I've read Joe's emails, so I've seen the different scenarios there.
Yeah.
No different from what I've seen in the private sector. You know, end up getting scheduled for weekend work that you don't normally work, and depending on how your hours fall, you wouldn't get paid overtime. So it's not like the county is the only person or group out there doing this kind of thing. You know, it's pretty well throughout.
So, you know, if we just send this straight to commission, we really don't have cost. We don't have any of that, correct? Would be the betterment that Mr. Gurley bring it up to budget?
I don't have a problem with him bringing it to budget if he wants to bring us some numbers, and that's what I want to say.
About that.
And the policy fit these guys and the rest of the general.
Okay. Okay, y'all bring it there. Chief Farley?
Like I say, one thought thing comes to my mind. If that person has a vacation day and they come in and work that night shift and they get straight time, if we're not allowed to do that, then what we do is we actually bring somebody in on overtime and pay them time and a half. So that's. I mean, I'll do whatever y'all decide to do. I'll enforce that. But that's just one thought on what you think about that. If they work that 8 shifts, they take a vacation day, and we charge them with a 24-hour vacation day, they get paid for the vacation day, but if they come in and work the 10th shift, they get straight time, where if we bring somebody else in, we're going to pay them overtime. But we have a line item for overtime, so it's just, I mean, it's just really just whatever y'all decide to do, but that is a thought right there.
Well, I think I think it'd be better you bring that to budget, and I think that you may give an opportunity to you sit down with HR too, and y'all compare notes, see where you go from there. Is that satisfactory? All right. Anything else needs to come before this committee?
Mr. Chairman. Lord knows I've sat through a lot of executive meetings in late hours. I understand what the executive session is. Litigation. I'm not sure what I'm about to bring up we can use in executive session. I was kind of wishing Nick would be around, and Chairman, Mayor, you may know, there's been some discussion, good discussion, about the schools and the radios. I'm kind of uncomfortable in certain discussions being aired over the airwaves, because we are talking about children and teachers and janitors, everybody in that school. And I don't know, I'm just uneasy with certain things being talked about when it comes to a safety plan or dead spots in schools or what we're doing with this or that. I think those things need to be private if we can. So I don't know if we can or can't as commissioners, or Chairman Reed, you and Mr. Clark, Director Clark, and some others get together and come up with that plan, and we don't even know about it if it's got to be public. But I'm very uncomfortable in today's world with airing that stuff over the waves.
Totally understand what you're saying there, Commissioner, and I think that's probably the consensus of this committee right here, that no, we will not bring out any unknowns or anything of that type before the general public that we can't, that will affect the safety of our schools or affect the safety of our children or any citizens in Rutherford County. And I think that's well taken. I appreciate that and what you brought forward there. Anything else needs to be discussed? If not, we're adjourned.